Hello, welcome, it's great to see you. I thought today we could add something a little extra to these ghosties. So I made these using some goodies from HTVRont. I will have a link for them in the description, and if I have a code for you, I'll pop that down there as well. So I made these in collaboration with their new Halloween bundle. So they sent me a bunch of bits and pieces, and in their bundle was some heat transfer vinyl. So I cut that on my new Locklit cutter, and I added on these little faces to these sweet little felt ghosties. So I made that into a reel, which I'm showing you here. These were super simple to put together. I just had some craft felt which I traced that ghost shape onto. If you don't have a die to trace around, you could definitely freehand it, or you could find the shape you want on Google, print it out, cut around that and then trace it. That would be another way to do it. This cutter is so quiet compared to all of the others. I just want to show you how this vinyl weeds, because how many heat transfer vinyls have you used and had to mess about for ages trying to get it to peel away and leave your design intact, and that is so easy to do with this. I also use their little mini heat press for this. I think the heat press does make a big difference. I used an iron for the longest time, but the heat press heats up so much quicker and it actually melts the heat transfer vinyl better. Or the glue rather, not the actual heat transfer vinyl. So I made those simple little ghosties on a reel, and then I thought I want to add something a bit extra to them. So I had these wood veneer banner pieces, and I've got my Rosy Studio Midnight Moonlight collection all printed out, and I thought why not combine the two. So I'm adding some glue onto the wood pieces. I did try and use the distress ink from Tim Holtz. It didn't work quite how I wanted it to. I think you'd have to either paint these with white acrylic or gesso or something first, and I didn't really want to have to do that. So I put them onto my papers using some wet glue and then just cut around them with a craft knife. Ironically, I didn't like that it was cutting up my cutting board, so I went ahead and cut it off to the side, and now they're magically all done. Poking the holes back through with this little tool here. I actually found it easier to flip them over, mark where the holes were, and then flip them back and push it all the way through. That was just the easiest way I found to do it. Then I grabbed my needle and some thread. I did test out a few ways of doing this. This first one that I do is not my favourite, so I would wait until the pink ghost to show you my favourite way. But to start off with, I tried just tying a knot in the end of the thread, threading it through my little banner flags. I do mess about for a while because I'm not sure if I want 4 or 3, but we end up with 4 in the end. And I work out that if you sort of overlap the little banner pieces a bit, it looks a bit more realistic. So I'm just deciding that I want 4, there we go. And then I add a bead onto the end. There is a bead at the beginning, but I don't think you saw me add that one. So through the bead, back through the ghost's hand, and then I actually go back up through the bead to create a bit of a loop so that I can tie a knot in my thread. Do that momentarily. There we go, back up through the bead, back through the ghost's hand, and then I use that loop to tie off my thread. Now for the second ghost, instead of just going through the banner flags, I actually go through the felt of the ghost as well, and that definitely holds your banner in place better. So for this one, I've already covered my flags in one of the pretty Rosy Studio papers, and now I'm adding some ink along the edge of the banners. I'm sure you're meant to have a blending tool to do this, but I don't have any of that stuff yet, so I'm literally just using the ink pad to run along the edges, and doing the same with these purple ones as well. If you want to know what colour these inks are, do leave me a comment and I will find out for you. I feel like that one is flamingo something. And I'm pretty sure the orange one is something to do with a pumpkin. Very Halloween themed. So poking my holes in these ones as well. And then, like I said, I do go ahead and stitch these ones onto the ghost. So you'll see I come up through the ghost's hand. Takes me a minute, I can't quite find my place. So up through the ghost's hand, and then I actually secure the thread with some washi tape on the back, which works out much, much better than the first one. So definitely this is the one to copy if you're going to make these yourself. So you can see I'm going up through the felt and then through the little banner piece and then down through the next one. And I flip it over in a minute to show you me tying the knot, and you'll see how the stitches look on the back. There we go, just up and down. Back through the little hand. There you go, you can see on the back all of the little stitches where I've actually gone through the felt this time. So I definitely recommend stitching that way, because the white one has these little edge pieces poking out, so I try and hot glue them and you can actually see it through the felt, and it presents me with a decorating challenge later on. So I glue those little banner pieces together because they were going all over the shop, and then I add some foam tape on the back and actually glue them onto the felt. But I definitely think it's easier to stitch them on, like the pink one, if I was doing it again. Getting hot glue all over my mat. Then I try and glue these little extra bits down so you can't see them. And you'll see when I flip this little ghost over, he's now got little purple patches, which we cover up later on. But not something I was trying to show there. I didn't want little purple patches on my ghost. Choosing some alphas here. I did like these white ones, but they were a bit too big. I go for these pink ones. I think these are something designs. I have to find the name of those. I put them on these purple ones and I don't like them, so I take them off again. I know I want the little lilac ghost to say eek, and I decide that I want the black glittery alphas for that. So I grab them in a moment and pop those on there. Trying to make one of these cute spiders work, which I do later on, but not for now. So pulling those pink ones off, I add eek in black onto the orange flags. That K does stand out very well in person, but for some reason you can't see it very well on camera. And then I add boo onto these purple ones. And then I actually end up putting the pastel pink boo onto the black flags, and that works really well. Because there are 4, I was hoping to do a 4-letter word, but I couldn't think of anything in the moment, so we went for boo again. So do let me know if you can think of a 4-letter spooky word. Adding one of these little rhinestone spiders from Temu. So I add the word boo on here, and then I want an exclamation mark at the end. If I'd actually took the time to turn the alphas over, I'd have noticed that there was punctuation, but I didn't, so I used an L and I just cut a slice out of it so that it creates the 2 bits of my exclamation mark, like so. Then I fussy cut a few little pieces out of this paper, another one from the Midnight Moonlight printable collection from Rosie Studio. I cut out this little teeny tiny spider web, and this little hat, and this little hat inspires all of the hats on all of the ghosties. So I think that one's slightly too small. I go into the ephemera and see if I can borrow hats from anyone else. After I've added this white sparkly spider, apparently. There we go, looking through to see who's got a hat we can borrow. I add this little sweet piece to cover up that purple patch. And I add that little spider web as well. I cut this guy's hat off. And this goes onto the pink ghost, but it doesn't stay there. We swap it out. But do let me know if you would put this in the centre of the ghost's head or off to the side, because you'll see me in a minute really struggle with where to position it. We end up going with the side. Watching it back though, I think I should have gone with the middle. Though it doesn't matter because we change it anyway. Then this little hat was perfect for the lilac ghost. I left a bit of that pink border, not pink, lilac border. I think it literally looks like it was made for that ghost. And then this guy needed a party hat. So I borrowed this one from this ghost and popped that onto his head. I feel like if he's carrying all the candy and sweets, he needs a party hat. He's more party vibes than witchy to me. So this is the witch hat that I actually switch it for. I cut the sentiment off of there, and I think that just matches that little ghost so much better. So I just glue that straight over the top of the other hat. I do trim around the edge a little bit as well. And then I pull out my puffy stickers. So these are the new Doodlebug ones. I'm looking for a bunch of sweets to add on to our little party ghost. I add this little roll of sweets, and then I add a little candy corn as well. That candy corn moves about so many times, but it does end up right there. And then what do I pull next? I think it's the little sparkles and stars. Yes, I noticed the stars. So I put a bunch of those on the eek. Some of these little sparkles on the party ghosty. Those little sparkles are just so perfect. I love them. I add some dots onto this boo one. They all get moved around though, so don't pay too much attention to that. I put a bunch of them back and then I move a couple, I think. I do add a little sparkle onto the hat. I change my mind, I want a pink one. And I go ahead and change my mind later again, so that's not staying. This little black dot doesn't make it either. I was very indecisive making these little ghosts. What do we change next? Oh, we add more stars. A little star onto the hat. And then I take that pink sparkle off. I thought moving it over would help, but it doesn't. So I do end up taking that one off. Add another rhinestone spider on the eek. Those rhinestone spiders are so pretty. They're a Temu find. I do have them in a haul on my channel somewhere. If you're interested in that, let me know and I'll leave you a link. And I decide on a flower, sorry, on this little witchy hat. And that's how that one stays. So I did try and use that little glue remover, and I do have to colour in the little black patch that sort of got rubbed away, but it works out fine in the end. And I just hot glue this banner in place. Thanks so much for hanging out and crafting with me. I hope you have enjoyed looking at these little super spooky cute ghosties, and I will be back again to craft with you very soon. Bye!